Hey you guys, welcome to Real Estate Divas. Today we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts for new real estate investors. Welcome to Real Estate Divas. I'm Jer'Leigh Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristin Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage Investments.
And today we're talking about the do's and don'ts of new investors.
Newbies out there, which we love you.
We do love you.
I love helping new real estate investors get started, and it shocks the hell out of me with some of the dumb shit that they do. I'm sorry,
well,
was that too early for shit?
No, this show's later. It's morning for us, it's later for them. But no, it's that, and then it can be really frustrating right now because everything's so crazy nuts out there, and we're just bombarded. It's hard to deal with somebody that you're having to kind of school from the ground up if that is not your business of charging them for schooling them from the ground up. It's taxing. So if you don't want to pay big bucks for that, then, take heed to some of our tips.
Right. And I do. And I love helping out new real estate investors and giving them tips and giving them guidance. But I'm also a full-time real estate investor, and I don't have time.
Most of us don't have time, especially in this market.
Yeah.
Well, in this market, everything's going so fast. So we were just discussing this right before the show. 5 years ago, I might have had the time to sit here and walk you through every single deal, maybe show up for half of them and be able to go, no, you're going to need this, this, and this, and put together some sort of plan for what your plan of attack for the remodel is going to be, give you some numbers to work with. But now I can't look at a dozen properties that you send me.
But it's not just that. It's knowing that majority of what they're going to send you is going to be garbage.
Absolute garbage.
And a waste of time. And, 5 years ago, sure, you could pull 10 deals out real fast. Let's go look at them. Yep. One of them's going to work. Now, it's hard to find an actual good deal. I mean, definitely not a great deal, but to even find a good deal is difficult.
And then you have the issue that, okay, there are tons of real estate investors out there getting good deals every day. They're still making money. Nobody's not out, the people that have been in business for a while, they're out there making money because they know what they're doing and because they've got their contractors, on hand. They're not out there trying to vet new contractors and this and that. They're not learning the whole process, and it was already a learning curve as far as what your profit margin would be for newbies 5 years ago, much less now. Now margins are thinner, it's harder.
Right. So, the number one thing I think we always say is stay in your lane. And, if you are coming into this market and you are going to be a real estate investor, be a real estate investor. It's shocking to know somebody goes, right, I had to learn, I'm learning how to
lay tile
and refinish hardwood floors. You know who was guilty of all this? Me.
Oh, well, we all were.
When I got started.
I did the same thing. I learned how to lay tile. I did a backsplash and I was so proud, but how long did that remodel take me? It took me like 5 months, 6 months, before it was ever back on, because I did have the work.
Right. So number one thing, don't go in there and do your own rehab.
Yeah. Stay
in your lane. If your job is going to be an investor, that means you are out there looking for property, you were looking for
the deal,
and you're looking for that, a month ahead of your first one closing.
Exactly.
So, and again, I know that's hard, especially for brand new real estate investors who might only have money to do one. And they gotta wait.
And that's fine. And they got to wait till that one closes. You got to start somewhere. Nobody's discouraging you not to start.
Right.
But one of the number one things that they say out there is, in order to get it done and get your money quicker, is stay in your lane and hire those things out. Don't go try to Google it and go to YouTube and figure out how to do plumbing.
And there's people who do that.
Oh yeah, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
So, and kind of parlaying that into it, the number two thing is stay on budget. And that is not just money budget, that's time budget.
Time is money.
Yes.
Especially if you're using hard money.
Well, and that's my, especially when I was lending hard money, that was my first question to a real estate investor when they said, "Oh, I just started a project." I would ask, "What is your daily hold?" Know that answer, right? Know that number. Know what it costs you
to hold that property. If nobody shows up to work on that property and it just sits untouched for an entire day, what did that cost you? Because it cost you something.
Oh, it did. And a lot of times, it's
Nobody
like,
knew.
They don't know what it is, and it turns out it's $100. And they're complaining a month down the road. They're like, "Oh gosh, yeah, my contractor hasn't shown up for a week." And I'm like, "Okay, that contractor just cost you $700 if your daily hold is 100,
in addition to what they're charging you."
right? And so the next question that new real estate investors, they're like, "Well, how do I calculate that?" And I said, "Well, you've got to take in your property taxes, your insurance. Did you pay cash for it, or do you have some type of loan on it? And if it's hard money, that's going to be expensive, and that's where you're going to see your
the
prices go up.
utilities that you currently have. Yep.
All of that. Do you have
Yep.
an HOA? Do you have HOA dues in there? All of that you are going to have to pay for over a month. Now, okay, you might not be shelling it out every day,
Yep.
but those
adds
prices are
up.
going to come due. And so you've got to know what that is every day, what that price is.
Exactly. Well, and the next thing is, and this is something that really should be at the forefront before you ever get started, is your education. So read books. Go out there and, network and find out what other people did to learn this industry. YouTube. This is where I'm a huge YouTube proponent, is get on YouTube. There are a ton of resources out there to access that you and I didn't have when we started in this business. I mean, maybe I could have probably gotten through a couple of deals a lot faster had I just been able to get on YouTube and look it up.
Right, and learn from somebody and be able to Google it and go, okay, how does this work exactly? I know I've heard of this, but how do we do that?
Exactly. So keep learning, and even whenever, let's say you've got 2 under your belt, you're not an expert. Unlike, whatever you're putting out there on social media, or some people are putting out there on social media, just because you close a couple of deals doesn't make you an expert. Just because you rehabbed a couple of deals doesn't make you an expert. Keep learning. Be humble, keep learning, and don't expect everybody to just give you that information, because that's what I come across quite frequently is if somebody tries to reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, can you help me? I'm new at this. I'd like to buy my first investment property." One of my first questions is, so what have you done to prepare? Like, who have you spoken to? Are you taking courses currently? What are you watching on YouTube? How are you educating yourself so that I don't have to pour everything I know into you in a 3-hour conversation, because I don't have that kind of time.
So, question.
Yeah.
Would HGTV be an appropriate educational tool?
No! Oh my gosh! We're going to start a show of HGTV bashing. What the heck with this?
One, their numbers are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're not real numbers.
They're not real numbers. So let's just put that aside. But
Yeah.
let's assume that they are real numbers. The math doesn't add up.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's crazy how many people use that as an example and then talk to me like they're giving me real information, like they're educating me.
Yeah, my favorite about HGTV for 1 second is the whole wife is a stay-at-home mom, husband is a parakeet farmer, budget $1.2 million.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Those parakeets are pretty expensive.
I love the reveal.
Yeah.
Because my game when I'm watching the reveal on HGTV shows is to find all the stuff that wasn't done that they might have just put a plot, like a pot or something, because they're always going to stage it, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no cost for staging. Has anybody ever noticed that?
Yeah,
like in the
that's not
final
in there.
budget,
They
that's
just-
never there.
They happen to have that stuff laying around.
Right. But if you really look closely, it's like they just slapped some paint on in the back. It's not even edged out or anything. So again, do not watch HGTV and think, God, I can do this.
Well,
It's
or that's
so easy.
reality. Yeah.
It's not reality. It's fake.
Yeah. It's frustrating because it happens. And then the other thing that's frustrating is, let's say you are watching HGTV and then your so-called realtor that's showing you a house that's a perfect investor opportunity is watching HGTV and has never flipped a home themselves. I have actually been in houses and heard other realtors recommend this to their clients that they're walking through, and I've already decided this place isn't a deal. And they're like, you know what? You bust out this wall and you do this and you do that. And they start throwing that around. The moment somebody starts talking about busting out walls, I'm like, I know it's sexy, but that's not your go-to. Your go-to is to salvage as much as possible in order to make that property work. You don't just immediately start busting walls.
And to then go to another point, you are not going to live in that house.
Yes.
This house is to say, I made X amount of dollars doing this in 30, 60, 90 days. And I've been there, right? I flipped a house that, made like $2 on it. It didn't lose, but $2 is definitely not a win.
That was your learning experience.
I know. And I hear
you
that.
You paid for your education.
I hear that, but for the amount of months and time and everything, you add in my hourly rate, that was a loser.
That was a loser deal.
100%.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you've got to figure out your own time and what your own time is worth. But right there, as soon as if you're being counseled by somebody and they're telling you to knock out walls, you need to really take a step back and go, how much experience does this person actually have? Yeah. Because if it's not in the budget to rehab it, and
if the margins are slim already, and that's what we're dealing with across the board right now.
Right.
For the most part, the margins are slim, very little room for error. And so your go-to or your knee-jerk reaction should not be coming in and busting out walls and reworking the whole floor plan of a property. That means replacing everything. That's really coming down to the studs.
Right.
If it's just one room, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind, the amount of bad advice that's given out there. But,
so, and the other thing that a lot of people will call me up and say, yeah, I really want to do this. I want to invest in real estate. And so has a mentoring program for, it's $30,000 or $35,000. I've even heard upwards of $50,000.
Yeah.
For some of these people. And I can tell you, we talk about this all the time. It takes a lot of time to have somebody shadowing you, to be working nonstop for them. So is that amount probably justified if you get that? But
most of the time they're taking on too many, because we're talking about people that are social media saying, hey, I'll be your mentor. We've got a whole team. Well, that means emails. That doesn't typically mean, or a weekly phone call. That doesn't typically mean that they're hand holding and going on every appointment with you. Even if you're paying them that amount, because the amount of staff they would have to have in order to support that customer base, you really, I totally believe in mentorship.
I do too, but paid mentoring like that, where you're just going to go give somebody a lump sum of money and have no idea what you're going to get back for it.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, that doesn't work out.
Exactly.
It really doesn't. And I would much rather see new real estate investors take that $30,000 and go put it on a down payment.
Exactly.
For a piece of property. Just, you might not be able to go buy something in cash, but you can go
put it down. Yeah, you can go put 20% down on something.
Absolutely.
So that's something that a lot of people need to look out for, is the people, the programs out there that guarantee you a house. There are reputable companies out there that work with new investors, but just know what you're getting. Don't keep throwing money into a mentorship that is, oh, but wait, there's more. If you give us an additional $5,000, you're not ready yet. And so then it's always, they're paralyzing you with that because you never feel ready to go to the next step. And then in the meantime, taking all the money that you would use on a property.
Right.
There's a lot of free education out there. So use that. If you need more, then start reaching out.
I got started after reading 5 or 6 books.
Yep.
And then I just pulled the trigger.
Well, and I mean, like I said, whenever we got started, you couldn't use YouTube wasn't there. I hate to date myself, but damn. Yeah, YouTube wasn't there. We weren't able to Google all of this. All that information wasn't at our fingertips, and now it is. So take advantage of that before you start looking into these extremely expensive mentoring programs.
I didn't carry a cell phone.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, when I bought my first property. I ended up getting it later, but like probably a year later after I bought my first property was when I had a cell phone, but I just didn't carry it with me.
Landlines were real popular back then.
Well, I know. I don't know what I would do without my smartphone right now. It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, life altering. The other thing, so build a team. Building a team is important.
And you're going to get this with networking, mentors. If you find somebody who really, is willing to exchange maybe your hourly time going, hey, I'm going to show you how to do this. I want you to do A, B, and C exactly like that. Go find us a property. And then I'm going to work with you and teach you how to...
JV with somebody like that. I mean, if you're partnering with somebody, then that's a way to pay for your education. You know, you're doing the grunt work, and yeah, it kind of stinks, but you're learning this industry.
And you're not paying them tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Now, they will obviously get paid when the
deal is
closes.
done.
But as I like to tell people, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because, 50% of $100,000 is a lot better than 100% of no dollars because you couldn't figure out how to find a property.
You were too scared to make that first step. Well, and the other thing with working with an investor and splitting or JVing or partnering, however you want to call it, that hands-on experience is invaluable. You get more out of that than you'll ever get sitting in front of a screen or going to a seminar, anything like that, because it's hands-on. It's teaching you real skills, right? Kind of like, it's the equivalent of getting your realtor's license. You can sit there, take those classes that take all of 2 weeks to get your license. That doesn't mean you know anything except for a couple of laws and the vocabulary. That's it. Like, you don't know real estate.
I'm glad there's a realtor who says that.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
Because the amount of realtors who approach me and they're like, hey, I just got my realtor's license.
Yeah.
Love to show you some things. I'm like, yeah.
No.
I'm good.
Yeah. So the building the team is through the networking, and that's not just mentoring, right? So building a team means once you're networking and you're talking to people who are already experienced, what contractors do you use? Would you mind sharing? A lot of people have gotten really tight
on their contractors.
Yeah,
I know I have.
Because you don't want to lose them.
No.
But maybe they can refer out a couple of people. Maybe they can refer out their inspector, so you at least can walk the property with you and you know what you're getting into. Just doing those type of things, that's the part of building your team. That doesn't immediately mean that you're putting people on salary. That means that now you have these people at your fingertips. Hard money lenders. Not all hard money lenders are built the same. It's nice to know who people are using that you respect.
The other thing is attorneys. And I'm not talking about, a lot of real estate attorney or real estate investors, they think, I've got to go retain a lawyer to do this. You don't. But you do need to know who the good ones are to do your documents. What are they, a fee attorney for a certain title company? Maybe that's the title company you want to use. Those really are not all created equal. And so you really need to learn where other real estate investors are going so that you can build the team and go and get an investor-friendly title company, an investor-friendly real estate attorney.
The title company is key. I don't think I realized how key that was. Well, not I don't think. I know I did not realize how important that was in the beginning, because regular title companies that just deal with mostly retail, they sometimes don't know what to do with these investor deals. And immediately the lawyer in charge of that title company is like, nope, can't do this one. And you may not find that out until you're 15 days in on this transaction, and then you've got to move title companies, which prolongs the closing date, which then may make you lose that deal. You just don't know. So title companies are key, and I don't think enough is said about that.
No. So always, ask around, hey, who do you use to close your deals? What title company do you use? Do you have an attorney that you love? Contractors, always. And a lot of us, I will call one guy and he'll be busy. And I'm like, all right. So instantly I start calling some people and going, hey, who do you have that can do HVAC? My guy, I can't get out for a week. Exactly. And I need it fixed today.
Yep. So, you definitely building your team also means options, not just that one guy. A lot of times I think because of HGTV, we're dealing with a lot of investors that think, well, I find the house, and as long as I've got a GC and I pay him, then I'm out and I turn around, sell it, and make money.
Right.
Because it's that easy.
And we all know that it is not.
So GCs are hard to come by. Right. And if you're not going to do the work, and you're not going to be able to be there and checking on your contractors doing the work, then you're going to need somebody to oversee that. And those people get paid.
And don't be cheap.
Yeah, those people also, they probably have their own jobs going on as well. So, and they need to be somebody that's been vetted, because there are a ton of GCs out there that just, I'll watch it. They're there for a week and then you never see them again, but they got paid up front.
Right. Which I never do. I would always say don't pay up front.
Don't pay up front. If you can get by, maybe half, maybe the deposit, maybe I'm getting the materials, but no getting paid up front.
I always buy materials up front.
Yeah.
I don't pay for work up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure to keep capital on hand. And you're running a business now. And this business does not end immediately after that first property. There are overhead costs that you're not going to think of, like marketing. If you're keeping this property as a rental property, you need to keep money on hand for emergency repairs. That water heater could go out. HVAC needs to be repaired. All of us, just something is going to go bad. You're going to have some weird leak in the ceiling that you've got to go figure out what that is. So always keep capital on hand.
There could be some weird freeze that happens, and then all of a sudden pipes are busting and your house is flooded, and you got all kinds of repairs.
Insurance might take 6 weeks or 8 weeks to get there, but you've got tenants living there, and so you've got to get it fixed now. So always have capital on hand, especially if you have rental properties. And for me, I pay myself, it comes in the form of a bonus, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a set salary, but it comes in the form of a bonus through, my payroll service for, a certain percentage of what I take in that windfall. Because they are. It's a big payday, and you're excited about it. And what are you going to go do with this? There's so many things to do, but you've got to keep a good bulk of that money set aside in your operating accounts. And that's something that a lot of real estate investors don't do.
Yep. Well, and especially like you said, if we're dealing with any type of buy and hold, whether it's short-term or long-term rentals, then you definitely have got to have that kitty set aside, because there will inevitably, something's going to happen. It will happen.
So how detailed are you when you plan out your day or your week or any of that?
I'm more detailed now. It's like the more you have to do, then the more you've got to make sure that everything's scheduled. I did find, and I find this pretty often with realtors or anybody that starts working for themselves, they don't know how to time manage. And that's a real issue, because you're easily distracted. I've got all this time on my hands. Well, I don't have a meeting until 5 o'clock today, so What am I
Yay.
going to do? I don't have anything to do today. That's not, when you're working for yourself and you're an entrepreneur, that is not the case. You've got to time manage.
And it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
And there are days where I'm just like, okay, taking the day off. Need a mental health day. Again, I work 7 days a week. So
That's part of it. Is even when I have a day off, then, or even if I'm out of town, I'm on vacation, my computer's with me, somebody's getting a hold of me, and I'm going, all right, taking a break. I gotta work.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Harper.
I'm raising the hand.
I just need to address Kristin's mental health day comment.
Uh-huh.
Last time I checked your social, that's more like happy or happy mental week every other week. Miss, I'm going skiing. I'm going to the beach. I'm on this trip. I'm in this country. I'm in this. I'm in that. Like 7 days a week, my ass.
Okay, so I do. All right, so I save up my weekend days for long weeks to go places. If you would see my travel schedule this summer, it's almost embarrassing. But I'm making up for like the whole last year.
Yeah.
The whole last year that we were in COVID and all work from home.
And we couldn't
everybody-
travel anywhere.
couldn't
Everything
travel.
was shut down.
All right, that's sorry for interjecting. I
Yeah.
just had to.
Well, I
Yeah.
get it. You know, I've been making up for lost time. I got a lot of places to go.
Yeah. Time's a ticking, people.
Time's a ticking. No, but but even when I do go places, I have my laptop with me.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon that I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, let me get that out. Or,
Yeah.
I'll take, do I work the entire time? No, of course not. But,
Yeah, but there's usually not a day that I'm not doing some sort of work, no matter where I am.
Well,
no
and
matter
I'm-
what day it is, no matter where I am. I don't care how, what country I'm in or where I've traveled to or what I have going on. There's usually, if it's not first thing in the morning, then there's something going on at night. Like I'm somehow in touch with work at some point.
well, I've got all these people working for me too.
Yeah.
So you need to check in with them in the morning and go, all right, are you all on top of everything? Do you know the
Yep.
schedule? I check kind of just the online boards and go, all right, we're cool. Everybody is doing what they're supposed to. We
Yep.
move on down the road.
Exactly.
But a lot of people, when they first get started, they're like, well, I don't have a meeting until 5, so I can, watch Netflix all day and do nothing.
I'll tell you this I would say probably at least half of the agents out there that whenever they get their license, that is the biggest problem, is the time management. And then because they're not utilizing that time to promote themselves or put themselves out there or try to find deals or try to find sellers or buyers or whatever in marketing, they don't get the deals, so then they can't stay in this job, so then they have to go and get a real job.
Right.
You
And
know.
then you're tied to an office from 9 to 5.
Exactly.
So if you treat this like a job and you are working from 9 to 5, if that's what you're used to, and before you really get it up to where it's a full-fledged company, and then you're really, or 2 or 3 companies,
Yeah.
until where you're working 7 days a week, it is important to just go, all right, I'm going to treat this like a job, and these are my hours of working, and I will make sure that I am filling those days and plan them out. Go, all right, I'm going to cold call.
Yep.
I'm going to work on landing pages now. I'm going to do an email blast.
Just something so that you're constantly being productive. And again, time management. There's videos out there. You can figure it out. To time block your days so that you're being productive and you're getting the most out of it.
And finally,
Yes.
what I feel is probably the most important one, make sure and be honest and ethical, even when it is not in your best interest to do so.
I agree. Well, that ends up being a question, or not a question, that ends up being a topic of conversation more often than not, because there are so many ways to do shady business in real estate. You and I, Ryan, we've all been in this business long enough. We've seen our fair share of shady dealings, just people, the deals, all of the above.
I can tell you right now that I have an asshole tax on certain investors who I buy notes from. They will not get as good of a deal from me because I know they've shown off, they've literally bragged about some of the stuff they've done. Now, was it illegal? No, it wasn't. Was it immoral or unethical? Probably.
Yep.
And that is the biggest thing. Do the right thing. Do unto others as you would have them do to you.
Well,
And do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, don't come back at the 11th hour and change that.
Well, and also it comes down to, like you said, do unto others. But, this is, you're building a reputation. You are your brand. And so if you're an investor, or I don't care what hat you wear in this industry, whatever hat that is, you are your brand. And it's a fairly small community, whether it's the Dallas-Fort Worth area where we are, no matter what part of this country you're in, I guarantee you it's a fairly small community to where news travels fast. So if you end up doing some shady dealings, I don't care if it's one shady deal, I guarantee you 100 more people know about that shady deal than what you think know about that shady deal.
I agree.
I mean, news travels fast.
And you hear that story about how they did business and they're proud of it, which always baffles me, because all I do is I tuck that little nugget in the back of my head
file it away.
and I go, that is somebody I don't want to do business with.
Exactly.
That is somebody I don't trust. I don't want to partner with them. Look at the stuff they do. So always try to, I get it. Things happen in this business and stuff goes awry. But, stand up and if you've got to change something, then you go to the people who are part of that deal and you explain it
Exactly.
and just be upfront and honest.
Exactly. And just to add, I mean, we've kind of gone through our top 10 list and they've kind of blended together rather than, bullet point, but it's conversational stuff. These are all notes that everybody should take heed of. But don't try to, I don't know how many times we've talked about this. Do not come at someone who is in this industry and has been in this industry for a long time and try to pull every nugget of information out of them without doing some homework yourself. Like this, that's so vital, is come with some baseline of knowledge, because nobody wants to train you up from kindergarten all the way through college in a week's time, and you're sucking every minute you can out of that person, and they're really not, especially if they're kind of doing you a favor, but you're not really offering anything in return. That's why we say JV, partner, do the legwork, and do the education.
Absolutely.
One thing I'd like to add that kind of piggybacks on what you just said, Jerleigh, is going, and it also adds into the whole like everybody's full of shit type of mindset.
Yeah.
Is if somebody else is more passionate about your growth and more passionate about your process and education, that's probably not passion. That's probably like sales pitch. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, if somebody's like, "Oh, we could do this and this and this," and you're just like super chill, maybe you should take a step back and be like, "All right, what are you trying to get out of me?
What are you trying to sell?
What are you trying to sell me?" Because again, your drive for your business and your education, no one should be telling you to go to YouTube and look at videos.
It should already
be done.
Right. But that's what I'm just saying is, if somebody's like, "Hey, you could do this, you could do this," they're like, "All right, what are you trying to get out of me?" That's all I'm saying, is just be aware that everybody you meet's full of shit.
Yeah. In this industry specifically. But that's our top nuggets as far as what to do, advice for all you new investors out there. If you have any questions, or if there's something that we didn't quite cover, feel free to go ahead and comment, ask some questions. We're happy to help. Even though some of these things don't exactly sound like we're happy to help, we are happy to help. It's just we need whoever's
We're happy
on
to
the
help,
other.
just not happy to help you.
That is not true. That is not true.
Hey, I help all sorts of
I do too.
new real estate investors to get started, and I answer questions all the time. And I love it. I love teaching people how to do this.
I do too. But it's please do some of the homework. Please, take heed of some of our advice. We're not just putting it out there because it sounds nice. It's valid. It is completely valid. But again, any questions, any comments,
and
feel free.
Please subscribe to our channel. We've got a bunch of content coming up on different ways and different little nuances to determining your rehab dollars, to
disputing your taxes, to traveling around expat, all kinds of stuff, anything that really has to do with real estate. That's why we're the Real Estate Divas. Anyway, like, subscribe, and thank you for joining us.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.